Hello and welcome to a quick tutorial of Google Gemini's Gems. Now, I've already logged into my Gemini account at gemini.google.com. Of course, you need a free Gmail account, Google account to log into this. It's a free service. And what you do is I want you to look down over here. Over here on the left side, you may need to scroll down under My Stuff. You've already created stuff. That's great. Look over here where it says Gems. Now, there's a couple of options you have that are free. I'm going to click on the Gems option. There's some really cool stuff in here, your recipes, things you can make, some experiments such as the storybook, the Chess Champ World Cup Brainstormer. But I want you to focus on the new gem button here. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Imagine I clicked on a new gem here, and it's going to give you some options here. So one of the ones I've already created is a lesson planner gem. So imagine I clicked on new gem, it would bring up a very similar window to this one. So in here, I am going to edit it so you can see what I've put in there. So this would pop up and this would all be blank normally, but I've already put my stuff in here. So you'd give it a name, description really doesn't matter, but the instructions really do. Okay. So what I do in the instructions, I give a very, very concise set of instructions in here. So in my instructions, I'll scroll through it all. You can see all of the information here. I give it a personality, you're an early educator, you're specializing in New Jersey's preschool teaching and learning standards. Obviously, you can modify this for any state, Pennsylvania, Maryland, any part of the country. And you're going to focus on the learning standards. And the lesson plan format I used here was Hattie's Visual Learning Framework. So whatever your district uses, you can put in that framework or lesson plan sample. And I'll show you where to add those artifacts in a little bit. And obviously, you want to make sure that you create a lesson plan. This is specific to pre-K teachers in New Jersey. This was an example I used for that population when I was doing a training for them. You're going to use whatever state standards. You want to make sure if you're PA, you put in the PA state standards and cite the specific learning objectives that you want. You want to add in success criteria. You want to make sure it's engaging, add in deep learning, transfer. These are all the parts of the Hattie's visual lesson plan strategy. So you'd put in what do you mean by these different parts of the lesson plan that your school district uses for your lesson planning process. You want to make sure it includes materials, student consumables, formative assessments, transitions. You can actually add in a family connection. That's optional to you. And obviously the final output format. You want to make sure that it's in the format that you want. I really am annoyed when it puts it in tables. Make sure you put in no tables and don't use any markdown formatting that creates structured grids. Yeah, you don't want choppy generation. You want to make sure the output is exactly the way you want. So make sure you double check that there's no marker, there's no tables when you create. So the cool part is once this is already done, okay, that's really good information there. You want to add in knowledge. And this is what I said, you can add in other artifacts, other information that this little specialized training model will use for. So what did I add in there? I added in some standards from National Health Standards. I can add in standards for any content area you want. I can add in the lesson plan format. I can add Edutopia. I can add in simple lesson plans. And what's really crazy is you can add in specific student information. So if you wanted to have a document, a PDF of your students, and like I said, never ever use actual student information, no names, no student ID numbers. But if you had a general gist of your student, for example, a student information page could include things like student A this is autistic, or student A has dyslexia, or student B has whatever the learning difference is, or maybe you just talk about their strengths and weaknesses. Maybe add in the things they're interested in. Maybe add in relevant testing information that is on a standardized test, how well they did, some learning needs. You can add in a PDF of that, and you can generate specific to every single student this lesson plan or worksheet or whatever you want. And when you go into this pre-K, and this obviously can be any grade level, any subject area, you just create it for that specific one. I want a lesson on, let's say, listening skills. Okay, so I'm working on pre-K, listening skills, and that's how lazy my prompt can be. Now that's trained in all this stuff, I don't have to put in a big prompt anymore. I don't have to use that craft format. I can just put in listening skills. And so what it's going to do is going to use all of the training data. It's going to generate a lesson plan specific to listening skills using my custom gem. So I'm going to give it a little time here. It's going to do some thinking. And it's going to let you see what the thinking is. It's going to give you a title. It's going to give you the standards that it pulled from the knowledge base. It's going to give you the success criteria, the engaging activity. It's going to give you specific words, materials. It's going to give you a much more comprehensive output than just going into any normal chatbot by itself. Now, if it doesn't give you the output you want, you can go to this button down here and you can go to change from the fast model, which will go to the thinking model, which is still free and included in here. You can actually resubmit your document if it isn't giving you the output, if it isn't giving you enough information there. But if you trained it properly in your setup here, it should give you a pretty good response regardless. And you can see this is very in-depth. We'll talk about the sources here. And what you can do is you can export it to docs and take a look at it. So here's a document it created here. And obviously this document is editable in Google Docs. You can see, given this prompt, here are my learning objectives, criteria, materials, student consumables, family connections. And I can go back into this. I can cut and paste this, and I can go back into my chatbot, and I can say, differentiate this for my different students in a given classroom. So I can go back in here and say, differentiate this lesson for a normal student population distribution. And it's going to help go into that same exact thing. It's going to add in all your DI stuff. It's going to outline activities. Once again, let it do its work. It's in its thinking model now. Once again, I'm going to output this to Google Docs. And if I would have had that training information originally in here, it would already be ready. So as you can see in here in the Engage, it adds in some surface learning, some tiered support for ML IEP students, for advanced learners, gives you some information a little bit more differentiated for your activities. So this is a great way that you can easily put in a very, very generic prompt and get out quality lesson plan ideas. Obviously, you have to tailor it to your specific school situation, content area, level of students. The more information you add in the knowledge section, the more customized and personalized you can make this lesson. You can actually tell it to create a separate lesson for every single student in your student population based upon whatever student input you want. And again, I caution you, do never ever use student personal information like names or student ID numbers. So once again, this has been a quick tutorial of Google Gems. Enjoy.